The House will come to order. Today, the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Annie Gillespie, Garrett Eslick, Axel Pace, Caleb Moore from the Great American Outpost School in Colorado Springs, Colorado, guests of Representative Flannel, House District 14.
Please join us for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Schiebel, please call the roll.
Representatives Bacon. AML Bacon is excused. Barone. Basenecker. Rep. Bottoms is excused. Bradfield. Bradley. Brooks. Brown. Caldwell. Camacho. Carter. Representative Carter.
Excused.
Clifford. DeGraff. Duran. English. Representative English.
Excused.
Espinoza. Rep. Espinoza.
Excused.
Foray. Flannel. Froelich.
I just didn't want you to forget.
Representative Froelich.
Excused.
Garcia. Garcia Sander. Gilchrist. Goldstein. Gonzalez. Yeah. Hamrick. Hartsook. Johnson, Joseph, Kelty, Leader, Lindsay, Luck, Lukens, Mabry, Representative Mabry,
Excused.
Marshall, Representative Marshall,
Excused.
Martinez, Morrow, McCormick, Wynn, Pascal, Phillips, Richardson, Ricks, Representative Ricks,
Excused.
Rutinel, Ryden, Representative Ryden, she's here.
Excused.
Sirota, Slaw, Smith, Soper, Stewart K, Stewart R, Story, Representative Story,
Excused.
Sukla, Taggart, Titone, Valdez A, Rep Valdez,
Excused.
Velasco, Representative Velasco. Okay. Weinberg,
Excused.
Wilford, Rep Wilford, Winter, Woodrow, Woog, Zokai, Representative Zokai. I did. Rep Zokai is excused, and Madam Speaker.
Here. Members. Members, we're having a hard time hearing Mr. Schiebel. If I could ask you to keep your voices down, thank you. We have 56 present, 9 excused. We do have a quorum. Representative Sukla.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the Journal of Friday, February 6, 2026 be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk, and I call a division.
Oh, funny, funny. Maybe you could withdraw that so we could.
I think we're going to have a ruling on this. I think you can do it.
Representative Sukla, as much as I love this motion, I would kindly ask for you to withdraw the division so we may proceed with our typical Monday morning hoorah. Representative Sukla.
Madam Speaker, I would like to withdraw my motion for a division.
Thank you, sir. Members, you have heard the motion that the journal be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Members, we do have business. Please take your seats.
Majority Leader Duran. Members, we'll be proceeding with business. Please take your seats. Majority Leader Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I move to proceed out of order for consideration of resolutions.
Seeing no objection, we will proceed out of order for consideration of resolutions. Mr. Shebel, please read the title of Senate Joint Resolution 26008.
Senate Joint Resolution 8 by Senator Roberts, also Representatives McCluskey and Lukens, concerning honoring Colorado's 2026 Winter Olympians and Paralympians.
Representative Lukens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I move Senate Joint Resolution 26008 and ask for it to be read at length.
Mr. Shebel, please read the resolution.
Whereas the Olympic and Paralympic Winter Games represent the highest level of international athletic competition, celebrating excellence, perseverance, sportsmanship, and the unifying power of sport. And whereas Colorado has long been a national leader in winter sports, with world-class mountain terrain, training facilities, and a strong outdoor recreation culture that help develop athletes capable of competing on the international stage. And whereas athletes from Colorado who qualified for the 2026 Olympic and Paralympic Winter Games demonstrate extraordinary dedication, discipline, and resilience, often training for years while balancing education, employment, and commitments to their families and communities. And whereas, while wearing the uniform of the United States of America and competing before a global audience, Colorado's Olympic and Paralympic athletes proudly represent our nation with honor and distinction, serving as ambassadors for American values, including perseverance, teamwork, fair competition, and respect for others, while also representing the state of Colorado in their hometowns, many of them rural and mountain communities. And whereas Colorado is home to nationally and internationally recognized training facilities that support elite athletic development, including the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Training Centers in Colorado Springs, the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Team Training Center at Copper Mountain in Summit County, and numerous additional venues across the state that are regularly used by U.S. Olympic and Paralympic teams. And whereas the following athletes, each of whom has a meaningful connection to the state of Colorado, qualified for and are competing in the 2026 Olympic or Paralympic Winter Games: Annika Belshaw, Steamboat Springs, ski jumping; Chase Blackwell, Longmont, snowboarding; Jake Cantor, Silverthorne, snowboarding; Jason Colby, Steamboat Springs, ski jumping; Lily Dewanaway, Copper Mountain, snowboarding; Alex Ferreira, Aspen, freestyle skiing; Stacy Gaskill, Golden, snowboarding; Red Gerard, Silverthorne, snowboarding; Burke Irving, Winter Park, freestyle skiing; Svea Irving, Winter Park, freestyle skiing; Riley Jacobs, Oak Creek, freestyle skiing; Tess Johnson, Vale, freestyle skiing; Malik Jones, Aurora, sled hockey; Lauren Jortberg, Boulder, cross-country skiing; Ellie Cam, Colorado Springs, figure skating; Elizabeth Lemley, Vale, freestyle skiing; Nicholas Malisinski, Steamboat Springs, Nordic combined; Oliver Martin, Vale, snowboarding; Charlie Michael, Durango, freestyle skiing; Kyle Negomir, Littleton, alpine skiing; Danny O'Shea, Colorado Springs, figure skating; Jake Pates, Eagle, snowboarding; Hunter Powell, Fort Collins, bobsled; River Radamus, Edwards, alpine skiing; Madeline Shafrick, Steamboat Springs, snowboarding; Michaela Schifrin, Edwards, alpine skiing; Jacob Slavin, Erie, ice hockey; Cam Smith, Crested Butte, ski mountaineering; Haley Swerble, El Jabel, cross-country skiing; Lindsey Vaughn, Vale, alpine skiing; Landon Wendler, Steamboat Springs, freestyle skiing; and Cody Winters, Steamboat Springs, snowboarding. And whereas the accomplishments of these athletes reflect not only individual excellence, but also the extraordinary commitment and sacrifice of their parents and families, as well as the strength of the communities, training institutions, and public investments that support athletic development in Colorado and across the United States. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate of the 75th General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the House of Representatives concurring herein, that we, the members of the Colorado General Assembly, hereby honor and commend the Colorado athletes who qualified for and are competing in the 2026 Olympic and Paralympic Winter Games, recognizing their exceptional achievements and their service in representing the United States of America and the state of Colorado with honor on the world stage, and expressed our sincere appreciation for the parents and families of these athletes, whose unwavering support, sacrifice, and encouragement made these achievements possible, as well as to the coaches, trainers, support staff, communities, and training facilities across Colorado that helped prepare these athletes to compete at the highest international level.
Speaker McCluskey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Members, we are going for a 10 out of 10 on our resolution. We need a gold medal, and we have a mistake. So with that, I move L001 to Senate Joint Resolution 8.
That is a proper motion. Please tell us about your amendment. Speaker McCluskey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Members, athlete Nina O'Brien was listed incorrectly on the Olympic website as a skier from California. And knowing that Colorado is far superior to California in all things, we wanted to be sure that our resolution correctly represented where she is from. I would ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L1 to Senate Joint Resolution 008. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine. Members, please proceed to vote. Representative Bottoms, how do you vote? We are on the amendment.
Run an amendment to adopt Breezy Johnson.
Rep. Bottoms, we can see you, but we can't hear you. If there's any way you can indicate with a thumbs up if you're able to move. Representative Bottoms is excused. Mr. Schiebel, please close the machine. With 62 ayes, 0 no, and 3 excused, Amendment L1 is adopted. We are back to the resolution. Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Today, members, we honor and commend Colorado's 2026 Olympic and Paralympic athletes who represent the U.S. at the highest levels of international sports competition. The athletes we recognize today demonstrate incredible dedication, discipline, resilience, and perseverance, and will serve as the ultimate examples of what it means to work as part of a team in fair competition on the world stage. There are 33 Colorado athletes who qualified for and are competing in Milan, and I'm proud to acknowledge the 5 athletes competing in the 2026 Olympic and Paralympic Winter Games who come from my district. I speak on behalf of all of Colorado when I say we are cheering you on from afar, and we hope that you can feel our pride and support as you compete. Colorado has long been a national leader in winter sports with our world-class mountain terrain and strong growing outdoor recreation culture. A Colorado skier was the first person from the U.S. to ever win an Olympic medal in ski jumping at the 1924 Winter Games, and a Colorado skater won the only gold medal for the U.S. in the 1968 Winter Games. Congratulations to the parents, families, coaches, communities, and the many who have helped prepare these athletes to compete at the highest international level. And I say, let's go Team USA.
Representative Lukens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. For 2 weeks every 4 years, we get to celebrate Colorado and the United States on a grand stage in one of my favorite events, the Winter Olympics. I'm proud to bring this resolution honoring all of Colorado's Olympians and Paralympians and to celebrate Colorado's contribution to competitive excellence. And this year, we have a lot to celebrate in Colorado. Colorado is sending more athletes to Milan Cortina Winter Olympics than any other state. I am especially proud to honor the Olympians of House District 26. House District 26 is sending 14 athletes from Steamboat Springs, Vail, Edwards, and Oak Creek. My hometown of Steamboat Springs, known around the globe as Ski Town, USA, has produced more Winter Olympians than any other town in the United States. 10 alumni of the Steamboat Springs Winter Sports Club alone will represent Team USA this year, and 3 others who trained with SSWSC will represent their own countries, competing in disciplines ranging from freestyle moguls to Nordic combined. Of this list, I went to high school with one of our Olympians, and I used to babysit 2 of our Olympians. It takes a community to raise Olympians. These athletes have trained for years through countless early mornings and late nights, long drives in the snow just to make it to practice and competition. I want to thank the moms and dads who put their kids on skis or skates at a young age and were always there cheering them on at every race or match. This moment also belongs to the grandmas and grandpas who stood right alongside their grandkids, supporting them as they chased their dreams. Thank you to the coaches who bring not only technical expertise, but perseverance, pushing these athletes to work harder and continually improve. And thank you to the doctors and physical therapists, to the trainers, nutritionists, and sports psychologists, to the snowboard and ski manufacturers, boot fitters, wax techs, and equipment technicians, to the snowmakers, snowcat drivers, and lift operators who make training possible, and to the teachers and school administrators who accommodate skier schedule. As I said, raising an Olympian takes a community. Our Colorado athletes reflect the values we hold dear: perseverance, grit, and excellence. I urge my colleagues to join me in honoring their extraordinary achievements and wishing them every success as they represent our state and country at the highest level of international support. And to our athletes representing the great state of Colorado and the United States at the Winter Olympics, the Colorado General Assembly says good luck and make us proud.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption. Representative Goldstein.
Thank you, Speaker Pro Tem. It's a pleasure to serve with you.
Honored to serve with you.
I just want to say I rise in support of this resolution, and I was asked to keep it short. And I am a woman of few words, but I have something to say. I really like to say it. So, I am a former teacher of students with special needs and a 15-year volunteer snowboard instructor with the National Sports Center for the Disabled in Winter Park. And for several of those years, I also coached Special Olympic athletes. And I have to say that my daughters, who were in the comp center at Winter Park, rode, they know the two athletes from Winter Park. Being an Olympic athlete requires extraordinary talent and courage. Being a special or Paralympic athlete requires even more. These athletes face challenges most of us will hopefully never experience. And whether their disability is physical or cognitive, having the opportunity to compete, to be the fastest, highest, or farthest among their peers is incredibly powerful. Watching an athlete focusing as they wait for the start gate to open, seeing the triumphant fist bump at the finish line, or witnessing their walk to the podium to receive their medal, those moments make every hour spent helping them overcome obstacles worth it. Thank you to this body for considering this resolution to support all Olympic athletes, and let us cheer them on and celebrate them as they represent us and strive for gold. Thank you.
Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Members, I came down here because I want to wish our Olympians good luck. I learned how to ski from a former gold medal winner of Lukens up in Steamboat. She won the 1984 Olympics. But I also wanted to say there's a direct connection to agriculture that you may not see, and that's the fact that the majority of the wool used in the Team USA sweaters came from my district, Loma, so it's good Colorado wool. So we have a direct connection to also keeping our Olympians warm at this year's Olympics. And go Team USA.
Great. Seeing no further discussion, I meant that in the most positive way. Thank you for keeping our folks warm. Seeing no further discussion, the motion is for the adoption of Senate Joint Resolution 00. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I move Senate Joint Resolution 008 as amended. As amended.
That is a proper motion. Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Joint Resolution 008 as amended. Mr. Shebo, please open the machine. Members, please proceed to vote. Representative
Yes.
Bottoms. Appreciate that. Representative Bottoms votes yes. Please close the machine. With 63 aye votes, 0 no votes, and 2 excused, the resolution is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Bottoms, do you wish to co-sponsor?
Yes.
Representative Bottoms co-sponsors. Please close the machine.
Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the following bills be made special orders on February 9th, 2026 at 10:30 a.m. House Bill 1020, House Bill 1040, House Bill 1003, and House Bill 1035.
Seeing no objection, the bills listed by the Majority Leader will be made special orders today, February 9th at 10:30 a.m. Representative Zokai. Members, you have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, Representative Zokai will take the chair.
While it's moving.
How you doing? She's gonna take a picture. Good.
The committee will come to order.
Really?
With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there is a request for reading a bill at length. Committee reports are printed and in your bill folders. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen on iLegislate and in today's folder on your box account. Bills will be laid over upon motion of the Majority Leader, and the coat rule is relaxed. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 261020.
House Bill 1020 by Representatives Gilchrist and Bacon, also Senator Ball, concerning colorimetric field drug tests in cases involving drug possession.
AML Bacon.
Thank you. Madam Chair, it is an honor to work with you.
It is an honor to work with you.
It's leadership. Okay, I move House Bill 1020 and the committee report.
To the committee report.
Thank you, members. In judiciary, we made one amendment, particularly after work with our district attorneys, so we can get the bill in very good shape and to earn support. So with that, members, I urge an aye vote.
Rep. Gilchrist.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We urge an aye vote today. Each year, more than 750,000 people in the United States are arrested for drug possession based on a field drug test that are known to be unreliable. This bill addresses that issue today. We feel like this is a narrow fix to create more equity in the system. We were deeply proud to gain the support of the entire Judiciary Committee on this bill and a large group of stakeholders that spent the entire interim meeting and thinking carefully about how that we could move this policy forward. So we urge an aye vote today and appreciate your support.
Is there any further discussion on the Judiciary Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is its passage. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee report passes. To the bill. Is there any further discussion on the bill? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1020. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Ayes have it. House Bill 1020 passes. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1040.
House Bill 1040 by Representative Froelich concerning the sterilization rights of a person with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Representative Froelich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is a delight to serve with you.
And it is a delight to serve with you.
I move House Bill 1040 and the Health and Human Services Committee report.
To the committee report.
The committee report, thank you very much, Madam Chair. The committee report is essentially now the bill. I want to thank the Health and Human Services Committee for accepting the amendments that we brought and for asking really good questions. So before we approve the committee report, I do need to run 2 amendments to the committee report. And so, should I move the first one? I need like 7 of them. Oh yeah, you need that packet. Yes. Sorry. First time this year. Thank you very much. Folks, I move Amendment L3 to the Health and Human Services Committee report and ask that it be properly displayed.
One moment. The amendment is before us. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The folks in Health and Human Services Committee had some concerns about the broad language around what constituted imminent threat to life or health. And so this amendment will seek to define that, to put parameters around it so that we don't have it be loosey-goosey, and I ask for a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L3? Seeing none, the question before us is its passage. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. L3 to the committee report passes. Rep. Froelich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Amendment L4 to the Health and Human Services Committee report for HB 1040 and ask that it be properly displayed.
And it is before us. Please proceed.
Thank you. This is also, at the request of the committee, this is a petition clause, which we're happy to put into the bill, and we ask for a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion on L4? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L4 to the Health and Human Services Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Amendment L4 passes. To the committee report, is there any further discussion? Oh, Rep. Froelich.
I just want to say that, as I mentioned before, the committee report is now the bill. I really want to thank Health and Human Services for raising some really good questions, having a good discussion. This bill just seeks to undo a historical harm we still had on the books that allowed for folks with disabilities to be sterilized against their wishes. I think the committee was in agreement that that is something that we don't want to see have happen, and I ask for a yes vote on the committee report.
Is there any further discussion on the Health and Human Services Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is its passage. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Health and Human Services Committee report passes. To the bill. Any further discussion on House Bill 1040? Seeing none, the question before us is its passage. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1040 passes. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1003.
House Bill 1003 by Representatives Ricks and Camacho, also Senator Kolker, concerning modifications to the Small Business Recovery and Resiliency Loan Program.
Representative Ricks.
Thank you. Members and colleagues, we move the bill in, which is House Bill 261003 in the committee report.
I'm sorry, can you repeat? I want to hear the tail end of that again.
I move House Bill 261003 in the committee report.
To the committee report.
In the committee, we're proud to present this House Bill 1003, which is a small business recovery modification bill. And basically, the bill was passed out of the committee. And we're trying to address some specific issues around small businesses currently in our current economic environment. As interest rates are rising and operating costs are continuing to rise in Colorado, the small businesses are increasingly burdened by high interest debt, creating a greater need for smaller, more accessible loans. And House Bill 1003 modernizes the Colorado Small Business Recovery and Resiliency Loan Fund, and it makes the program better in meeting the needs of the changing economic landscape. We ask for a yes vote. Or did you want to say something? I'm sorry. Okay.
Is there any further discussion on the Business Affairs and Labor Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the committee report. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee report passes. To the bill. Representative Camacho.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, this is an important bill that helps modernize our small business loan recovery program. From the times when it was from its inception during the COVID pandemic, it streamlines some of the language. It also reduces some of the leverage requirement. Basically what that is doing, it is providing more opportunity for small businesses in our community, especially if you're a small business that needs to buy equipment or you're a small business that needs a microloan so you can make payroll. This is just another opportunity for those really critical businesses in our community to access capital, because as many of you may know, access to capital and the ability to continue to operate, especially when you're a young or a fledgling business, could be the difference between being in business and being out of business. This is a very positive step, provides for the small businesses across our state, and I urge a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1003? Rep. Richardson.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. The sponsors gave a very good overview of the bill. I've got one area that I'd like to strengthen, and I move L002 to House Bill 1003 and ask that it be properly displayed.
That is a proper motion. Give us one moment. The amendment is before us. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As it reads, if you've got the bill out, beginning at the bottom of page 4 and onto the top of page 5, it just reads that each tranche of loan funding will be used to fund businesses across the state over the duration of the program, and then goes on to state the program shall track the distribution of capital to counties. It's great to track where the money goes, but I think taking this opportunity to ensure that it's actually distributed in an equitable manner to start with is more important. During committee, it was stated that about 30% of the funds in the program that has been ongoing go out to rurals, kind of in the proportion, a little bit over the proportion of businesses they have. Currently, this amendment, again, rather than just tracking, would direct that 30% of that funding go to rural counties, veteran-owned businesses, and minority-owned businesses. So rather than catching it on the backside after reporting that we haven't, this ensures that any funds used go out equitably to start with, and I would urge a yes vote.
AML Winter.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I rise in support of this amendment. I think that this amendment strikes the heart of three important groups within my district. That's minority businesses, veterans, and all within rural Colorado. There's many times in the building we say the money's supposed to go there, but this gives a verifiable, trackable proof to where it's going. And I think that looking at these groups within these types of districts is really big and helps them give a foot up. So I rise in strong support. I think it makes a good clarifying point within the bill, and I think this is something we all should be able to get behind. Rural Colorado veterans and minority business owners. I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L002? Seeing none, the question before us, Representative Ricks.
And I just want to thank Representative Richardson for his amendment. I think we all share the same thing in Colorado, which is to ensure that there is equitable distribution for any type of loans or anything that goes, whether that's to veteran communities, rural communities, minority small businesses. And this is a fight that you've heard us come up to this well many, many times, fighting for, that our minority businesses and all these other inner cities and marginalized communities get equitable treatment in this. According to the bill right now, there are metrics that will measure how the money is distributed, but to be able to specify a certain percentage, that's not something that we've been successful in doing in Colorado. And so because of that, I'm going to ask for a no vote on this amendment. I do share, and I think we all share, that we want equitable treatment, but there is no such thing that we can put like a 30% or specify an amount in statutes. So I'm going to ask for a no vote on this amendment.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L002? Seeing none, the question before us is its passage. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The noes have it. L2 fails. To the bill. Representative DeGraff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just kind of going over this, just with that last comment, it looks like there's a lot of something that's here that's not exactly here. So if we're talking about how something is distributed, what equitable actually means, why is it not something that we are looking at in the bill? So I am concerned about that last revelation, and that we would actually have everything that's in there. We should have everything as to how this is going to be distributed. The word equitable, I think, the word equitable just absolutely means nothing anymore. When it can mean everything, it means nothing. So we need to nail down the terms instead, the terms of the contract, especially where the state is going to be involved with putting the money, the finances, the resources of the citizens of Colorado at risk based on in a lot of ways, very ideological reasons. So we need to nail these terms down and not use buzzwords like equitable. Equitable means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. And so it should not be used in a bill. You need to define what it means that you are trying to achieve. So when I look through this, I am concerned about the expanding government role in credit markets relative to the current law, and this continues state-run lending programs. Why is the state lending money? Now, one thing that anybody ought to, I always remind people that anybody that is in the process of putting their hands out for money, which of course is the whole entire purpose of this General Assembly, is generally for people to put their hand out for government money. And usually that's not so much a handout as it's a hand in. It's a hand in somebody else's pocket, because that's where the money comes from for all these programs. And you're reaching into this money of taxpayers to legislate it out of one pocket and into another. So that we have state-run lending programs. I'm not really sure where that goes, but I always like to remind people that Article 5, Section 34 of our Constitution says that anything that the state gives money to, over that, it assumes absolute control. And so if you're going to consider taking money, if you're going to consider doing that deal with the devil, you need to make sure that you have contemplated over what part of your soul you would like the devil to have absolute control, because that is the nature of government lending and government spending. So this has state-run lending programs. I'm not really sure where the state has the authority to enter into lending programs based on some other targeted things we have. Free markets, government-directed lending programs, we have markets out there. We have equitable, we have lending, it doesn't even have to be equitable. Somebody can lend money based on their own personal preferences. They can lend money based on whatever they want to lend money on, unless the government has stepped in and said they can't. So we don't need the government to step in when there are market solutions that are not going to basically bind the individual to fealty to the state. Fiscal responsibility. We're talking about moving $5 million between funds. Now, granted, when we have a $50 billion budget, $5 million doesn't even show up in the fraction, but at some point, these things add up to money. They add up to real money. And the citizens of Colorado deserve that their money at all levels, even in the decimal place, even in the subdecimal place, is accounted for properly, because those subdecimals add up and then they eventually become real money. Because these are ultimately, when you look at these risks, when you put loans in and take them down from 4-to-1 participation to 1-to-1, you are risking the amount of money that is going into this, and you are risking the amount and the likelihood of default. If you only have to put down 50% as opposed to 80%, the likelihood of default is a lot higher. And identity-based targets. The government is giving money. The government assumes absolute control. The Constitution precludes unequal treatment. So if the Constitution precludes unequal treatment in politicized lending criteria, even if the loan itself is not constitutional, the process at least should be constitutional. And now you are having an identity-based loan. We're not loaning money. This program is based on the color of the skin, not on the content of the character. That seems to be a violation of February in general, let alone specifically our Colorado Constitution. Personal responsibility, it takes a hit in this when expanded hardship deferrals may weaken repayment discipline. Now we've not only reduced the risk to the individual who wants the loan, they get the benefit, but they don't have the risk. But now we've said, okay, we're just going to expand the reasons that you don't have to pay it at all. And who's going to pay the brunt of that? Oh, it's going to be the government. It's going to be the state. But that money, again, based on the charitable good intentions of the sponsors, that money is coming out of the pockets of the citizens of Colorado. And I'd like to remind everybody that there is no such thing as charitable taking. There's charitable giving. The Lord loves a cheerful giver. But there is nothing about charitable taking. And when you reach into one citizen's pocket and you legislate money out of that pocket into another pocket because you prefer that person over another, that is theft. Now, I don't know what the motivation for that theft is, and I won't speak to the motivation for that theft, but legislating money from one citizen's pocket to another is theft. It is theft by the state, and it is payment to another. And again, I'm not speaking to the motivation. I don't know why the state wants to steal money from one citizen and give it to another. That's not the object of this conversation. The object of this conversation is the fact that it is stealing money from one citizen, putting it in the pocket of another. It is depriving one citizen of the opportunity to benefit from that money being in their pocket and putting it in another citizen's pocket who has the benefit to gain from it. So you have an exchange. You're not only stealing the direct funds from one pocket to the other, you are taking the opportunity costs and you are assigning, they are losing the opportunity of that money, and then based on these ideological principles and the ideological good intentions, you are assigning that other person the ability to gain. They have an opportunity gain. So you have an opportunity loss and you have an opportunity gain. and that is theft. Again, I don't know why. You can speak to your own motivations. I won't speak to the motivations for that. I'll say the motivations are probably good, and the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and this is just one more brick. Why should taxpayers underwrite risk by lowering the private match from 4-to-1 to 1-to-1? Why? Why is that being placed on the taxpayers? Because you feel good about it? Because you think that would be good? Because you think that would be some equitable sort of thing? What does equitable mean? Does equitable mean assigning risk to one group of people over another based on some physical characteristic of that individual? Is that what equitable means now? Is equitable based on the color of skin, the physical characteristic, as opposed to the content of the character? The content of the character is going to determine whether somebody pays back the bill or not. This is a bill with just that right there. This is one of those bills where you say, like our whole housing bubble that we had that collapsed the housing market based on the good intention of allowing everybody to build, or was that just the good intention of feeding a lot of money into developers' pockets? Doesn't matter.
Representative DeGraff, let's bring it back to this bill, please.
Oh, ma'am, I am talking about the bill.
I believe we're talking about another housing bill that passed. If you could bring it back to House Bill 1003.
I'm referring to the parallel to the bill, because what that did is it extended for good purposes, good intentions, it extended subprime mortgages to people that could not otherwise afford them, that did not have the means, ability, or character to repay them. And then who paid the bill for that? The bill for that was ultimately paid by the citizens of the states, of the citizens of the United States, of these United States. So this is really just the same thing. What we're doing is we're taking people that apparently we're saying that, hey, they can't get a loan from a normal, the multitude of other institutions that can pay these loans, that can extend these loans. We're saying this is a high-risk individual, because otherwise they would not go in debt, they would not go into fealty to the state unless they absolutely had to. So the reason for this bill is we have people that are taking on loans that have a high likelihood of not repaying. And because the body feels good about this word called equity, we're going to assign the risk to the rest of the citizens of Colorado. That is unjust. That is stealing from one pocket and legislating it into another. It doesn't really matter what the good intentions are. It's stealing. So how does identity-based targeting comply with this? Why don't we just say, hey, this person is a high risk? Because if somebody is a good risk, it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter what their physical characteristics are. Are they taking out a loan that they have the propensity to repay? Are they taking, because that is going to be, do they have a plan to work that program in order to repay the loan? If they do, then maybe they need to have a smaller loan that they can secure from somebody else. Not go to the citizens of Colorado with a demand that the citizens of Colorado put money in their pocket at the loss of the citizens of Colorado for the potential gain and definitely the higher level of risk of these loans. What safeguards ensure that this broadened hardship just doesn't normalize? And we just say, oh, well, for the same reason that we're giving you this loan, we feel because we're giving you this loan because some sort of hardship, we're extending this loan for some sort of hardship, and then baked into this loan is the deferral for some sort of hardship. So it's almost like we've based the loan on, hey, we will give you money if you cannot secure a loan someplace else, and because we've given you the same criteria that we've used to give you money, we're going to use to say you don't have to repay that money. Maybe that's not what's baked into it, but this hardship, again, that's like equity. What does it mean? What does hardship mean? What are the criteria? Who's going to decide? Who's going to decide what the hardship is, why they should not have to pay that money that was stolen legislatively out of somebody else's pocket? If county set-asides were inefficient, Why keep any non-market targeting at all rather than just sunset the program? If it was an inefficient program, why not just get rid of it? What are the program metrics guaranteed by this program? What are we looking at? Are we going to get a report on this that says how many loans that we've given, how many loans that have been defaulted, what's the basis for them? Are we going to, as the bankers for the citizens of Colorado, a select few citizens of Colorado, are we going to start reviewing these loans? Because we are representing the gallery. We are representing the citizens of Colorado who have actual rights. The people in the gallery have rights. This room does not have rights. You don't have the right to give the money of the people in the gallery to somebody else because it makes you feel good. That is theft.
Representative Graff, I've given probably far more leeway than I should. If we could stop implying that our colleagues are stealing and talk about the merits and the policy in the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I see no merit in legislating money from one citizen's pocket into another. There is no merit in legislating money from one citizen's pocket to another. This is a bill that just says, hey, we are based on physical characteristics of a select few people. The state is going to accept a high-risk loan, and then we are just going to silently pick winners and losers as to who has to repay that loan because it makes people feel good about the word equity, which we will just basically leave as undefined, some undefined goal. So generally it just means not equality under the loan, equity and equality being different things. Equity typically means a forced redistribution to arrive at a set outcome, a set equality of outcome, which deprives citizens, which deprives individuals of not only the right to benefit from their actions, it also deprives citizens of their right and their responsibility to benefit from their lack of action or their failed action or their lack of responsibility. Sometimes that is a more beneficial lesson to somebody. And what this does is it deprives them of it because it is the nanny state coddling a select few individuals because it feels good about the word equity, and therefore it feels okay about legislating money from the citizens in the gallery to the citizens someplace in Colorado. And from what it looks like to me, absolutely no intention of repaying it. I'd recommend a no on this bill.
Representative Camacho.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, if you have questions about what's in the bill, I encourage you to read it. Nowhere in this bill talks about equity. Actually, the sponsor of this bill actually said no to an amendment that would have introduced a legal complication. So if you have concerns about that, I would encourage you to read the bill and talk about the merits of helping small businesses. All of our constituents across the state talk frequently about what are you doing to help small businesses. That is a constituency that this bill is meant to address. Thank you.
Representative DeGraff.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I do appreciate that clarification. The sponsors spoke of equity, that this was to create some equity through this program. That's the word I heard. Okay, then mark the tape. We'll go back and listen to it. But when we're talking about small businesses, we're still talking about, so here's the thing that we can do in this body. This body, why are small businesses hurting in Colorado? Small businesses are hurting in Colorado because of the regulations imposed on them. They are hurting because of the taxes imposed on them. They are hurting because of the energy idiocy that is imposed on them. They are hurting for a number of reasons, namely that arise out of this chamber and the next, and far below this chamber from the governor's office and the executive orders. That is why businesses are hurting. If you want to help businesses, you don't solve the problems that you've created by adding another layer of problem. This is just a testament to when you ask the people to solve the problem that created the problem, you're just going to get a bigger problem. So if you want to actually help the businesses, let's start going back into the regulations that you've imposed on these businesses. Let's go back into actually looking at them where we can, instead of focusing on a very small number of people, we can instead of creating a lock to raise one or two ships here and there, we can create a tide that raises all ships. This is a very focused lock. It's a lot of energy to try to raise a few select individuals when the tide has gone out. And the tide has gone out because of legislation of this body. So if you want to help businesses, why focus on a small subset? Why not focus on the broader business base of Colorado that is fleeing? If office space in Colorado and Denver is going for 1/10 of the rate, is this the reason? Is this going to solve that? It's not going to solve that. We need to address the actual issues of these things instead of trying to pile worse legislation on the bad legislation that preceded it. This is still a focused legislation. It does not address the broader issues. So when you're serious about addressing the broader issues, which would be really undoing the damage that you've done to the economy, then maybe we would have some commonality. And these businesses that are focused on in here would benefit from those. They would just not benefit specifically or individually. They would benefit as a whole. So let's focus on all of Colorado instead of a niche of Colorado and make sure that we are creating a tide that raises all ships.
Representative Luck.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am going to go back in time to 2020 and the Climber Act, which is the act that created this particular loan program, the Small Business Recovery and Resiliency Loan Program. And if you remember back that far, 6 years, you will remember that it wasn't 6 years? Oh, sorry. You will remember that there was a lot of upheaval that was largely caused by decisions made in this building. This building made decisions related to its response of COVID that caused a number of businesses to be in quite the predicament. And so it was decided that there needed to be some sort of cover that this building gave in a response to their actions in order to give some degree of restoration to these particular businesses that were struggling. One could argue that that is within the proper role of government. Government made some choices, made some determinations, some declarations that hindered people's ability to act freely within the markets, that then put those businesses in harm's way, possibly to the place of closing, and so the government could again have a proper role in making those people whole. That is the impetus for this program. Those dynamics are no longer in place. And so this program could be terminated. This body could decide to place the $34 million that are currently within this program's accounts and put that towards other programs, towards other purposes. Instead, though, we're being asked to not only not sunset this program, we're being asked to expand it, to remove some of the restrictions that make it difficult for people today not experiencing the COVID dynamics to apply for these loans. I don't think that's the right choice for this body, especially in this particular financial climate where our JBC is trying to find dollars everywhere. Here are $34 million that could be apportioned to other areas. Now, I can imagine that the bill sponsors would say, no, this is important for producing more economic value within our state such that it generates more revenue, which then will help us in combating some of our economic struggles. But my mind says this isn't the role of government. Government is not designed to be a financier, to be an investor, to be the one deciding whether a project is worth giving money to or not. One of the prior representatives from El Paso County was trying to make this point in saying, should dollars from one constituent go to helping another constituent in this way? Is that a proper role of government? Does the government have a just authority to take dollars from one set of people and put them towards this purpose when you don't have the constructs of COVID and the decisions related to restoration and restitution at play? Is that just? And I would say it's not just. I would say that it is an infringement upon the free markets. It is another infringement upon the free markets. We haven't had free markets in decades because of things like this. Is it fair that one business owner is paying into a pool of money against his will, those dollars are going to fund his competition? Is that fair? Is it an appropriate use of dollars in a time when we can't fund our own entitlements, when we can't fund our own courts, when we can't fund our own corrections, when we can't fund all of the promises we have made to continue a program that we don't have to continue? And so for that reason, I move Amendment L004 to House Bill 1003 and ask that it be displayed.
That is a proper motion. And the amendment is displayed. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This amendment says that it's a bit awkward of an amendment, to be fair, mainly because we have rules in this place that if you're going to put forth a strike below, you have to give a certain amount of notice. I missed that deadline, mea culpa. And so I have to use what is currently existing. I can't get rid of all of it. And yet, at the same time, I still want to advance the policy that I am proposing. And so what this would do is say that take the changes of the bill, implement them, give out contracts under these new terms until December 31st of this year. At that time, no additional contracts can be permitted. And all of the remaining dollars that are in the account as of that date revert to the general fund for use by this body in other ways, and then allow for all of the contracts that are currently ongoing for those dollars as the loans get repaid, for those dollars to be directed to the general fund, again, for the purpose of clearing out that account and then repealing this particular loan program. It is true, our small businesses do need help. I agree with one of the prior speakers that the best help this body can give is to stop tipping scales, to stop over-regulating, to removing some of those burdens on investors like was passed last year, et cetera, and not to further fund some businesses over others using the corporate body's taxes. I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L004? Seeing none, the question before us, Representative Brooks.
Thank you, Chair. I had heard this bill in committee. There were a number of issues that were discussed on both sides, actually, of the aisle, including the final vote. So there's some disagreement, really, bipartisan disagreement about whether or not this is something that should be continued, or certainly if it's something that we have some concerns about. So to that end, I do support this amendment because, again, yes, I understand, can't do the strike below, but this is well thought out, and it's something that we should be considering. I understand how these things go here, but I did want to come up and ensure that supporting this because also of the concerns on both sides that I had heard in committee. Please vote yes.
Representative Marshall.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise actually in support of this amendment. I had great concerns about this program when it was brought and asked questions before it came to committee. The first easy, obvious question to me was, how is this different and not redundant to the Small Business Administration loans? Well, I got an answer back first that says, well, the Small Business Administration doesn't do small loans. And they were defining small loans as $100,000 or less. That's not true. 29% of the Small Business Administration's 7A loans go to $50,000 or less. Then I was told, well, no, SBA doesn't do startups. That's not true. They do startups. And in fact, this program requires 1 year of being in business with profitability before you can do a loan. So the SBA is even more lenient. I had several questions of how this was not redundant with the SBA and couldn't get a straight answer and was given wrong answers. So then I was told, well, we had OEDIT and 2 other people come to try and convince me. And after tap dancing for quite a while, the person, the head of the program, admitted they really don't know what the SBA does. That gave me very little confidence in the bill. So the first question out of my mouth at committee was, could we have one example of someone who would qualify under this program who could not get an SBA loan? I never got an answer. This was supposed to be a COVID-era program, and as our esteemed colleague from the other side of the aisle pointed out, we got $34 million in the COVID-era one, and we're trying to maintain a temporary program and turn it into another permanent government program with $5 million. $5 million that could hire a heck of a lot of nurses for our Medicaid program if the JBC would take the money. $34 million that could support a lot of rural hospitals if the JBC would take the money. But that's not where we're taking the money. It's always popular to give money to groups that we like. So I understand the political benefits of this bill, but I really do not understand the public policy procedures of this bill. $5 million compared to the SBA is a drop in the bucket. And when they also want to reduce the leverage to a 1-to-1 ratio, 50%, because the mean old banks just won't lend money, well, the mean old banks lend money expecting to get it back. That's why the SBA always had a 20% equity injection and would guarantee it. That's why when they do VA loans, the government only guarantees 20% of it. They don't guarantee the whole thing. And those of you who've had VA loans know you have to pay a funding fee. So it's self-sustaining. A government program that's a loan program that is not self-sustaining is not a loan program. It's pure charity. And I was told this program right now has an 8% default rate or delinquency rate. But we're going to have interest rates lower than the SBA. If that's true, this program's losing money. It's not a loan program. The SBA has about a 3 to 4% default rate on their 7A loans. So I strongly support this amendment because I think this money, especially in the environment we are in today, you're deciding to put this money into these small business loans rather than supporting the rural hospitals, rather than supporting Medicaid, rather than supporting nurses. So I strongly support this amendment.
Representative DeGraff.
I just wanted to throw in my support behind my colleague, supporting my colleague and supporting this amendment.
Well said.
If we're going to get money, if we're going to do something, we need to do it as with the money of the population of Colorado. We need to do it in a way that benefits the citizens of Colorado, not a select few citizens of Colorado. So I support this amendment. I ask for an aye and go from there.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L004? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Amendment L004. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. The noes have it. L4 is lost. To the bill, is there any further discussion on House Bill 1003? Representative Woog.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise in opposition to House Bill 1003. I think many of us, if not all of us, want small businesses to succeed. After all, they are the backbone of our communities. Whether it's local family shops, restaurants where we took our kids for their birthdays, employers growing their business, providing jobs, I'm very concerned with the direction of this bill. It's dovetailing on a bill that was created during COVID. That bill was temporary. It was meant to help people survive. And now we're making this permanent? I don't understand that. Why are we trying to grow government's role in lending money? Why are we picking who qualifies, deciding who gets help? This should give us pause. Because behind every policy are real people. It's the taxpayers working overtime for groceries. It's families hurting because of increasing energy costs. You know, voters, they expect us to use caution with their money. They expect hard questions about long-term risk, about long-term responsibility. Small business owners don't want another program. They want relief. They want fewer barriers, lower costs, and frankly, they want freedom to succeed on their own. We need to be focused on making it easier to open a business, easier to hire, easier for a business to grow, not expanding further into the marketplace. We can definitely support small businesses in a better way, one that trusts people more than a state-run system. Colorado small businesses don't need government to become their lender. They want government out of the way so they can get stronger on their own. Let's focus on lowering costs, cutting barriers, creating an environment where anyone with a dream can succeed. That's the kind of future I believe in for Colorado. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1003? Representative Camacho.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, I urge an aye. And I vote on the bill.
Yeah, we urge an aye vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1003. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1003 passes. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title to House Bill 1035.
House Bill 1035 by Representative Soper and Woodrow, also Senators Weissman and Frizzell, concerning the enactment of the Colorado Revised Statutes 2025 as the positive and statutory law of the state of Colorado.
Representative Soper.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1035.
To the bill.
This is perhaps the greatest bill of the entire session, right before you today. Members, yes, with this bill, it sometimes is called the publication bill or the enactment of the Colorado Revised Statutes. But it puts all of the laws that we enacted last year in 2025 into the red statute books that you see in the back of the chamber so that it's all in one set. If this bill does not pass, there's another set of brown books that perhaps you've never seen called the session laws. And those are all the changes that we made for an individual session. That would mean that you'd have to look at two different sets of books to be able to figure out what the law is in the state of Colorado. This puts it all together so you have one nice consolidated set of books to be able to see what the law is.
Representative Woodrow.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with everything my esteemed colleague just said, with the exception of the word perhaps. This is the greatest bill that we will be running this session. It is about publishing the law. And when you are able to read the law and it's easily accessible, it's exceptionally democratic. We don't pass our bills in secret, we do it in the open, and we publish them for all to see. And so I, with great enthusiasm, urge an aye vote.
Representative DeGraff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we're talking about publishing the law, lowercase law. But too much of this law is in violation of the law, the uppercase law, the natural law, the moral law. When this chamber enacts compiled statutes as positive law, we're not just dusting the shelves, we are nailing down the frame of the house we live in. If the frame is crooked, you don't paint it and call it good, you fix it. The laws that were passed last year are not good. You stop and straighten it. This bill asks us to ratify in one vote The year of policy that bends the frame away from our constitutional oath, that bends our frame, that bends us in the direction of the law. And it's interesting when you look around this room, what we see when you look at the law, when you look at the moral law is to be aligned with morality. True law, what these pillars are, is they are aligned with the natural law, the law of gravity. They are aligned with it. And so when we violate that, when we start taking our pillars and we put them on slants and we call them that our personal truth, it's weakness. It's weakness. And when our laws are not aligned with the moral law, when they're not aligned with the natural law, the physical manifestation of the moral law, then we have weakness. So I like this room in that the architects took so much effort and so much time and so much resources into reminding us that we are here for the truth. So with the Second Amendment, let's talk about the Second Amendment. Shall not be infringed. Shall not be infringed is not a suggestion. It is a limit, not on the citizens, it is a limit on this body. How many laws did we pass last year that limit the citizens of Colorado, that restrict their rights, that restrict their ability to exercise their rights?
Representative DeGraff, this bill is about enacting the laws into the current statutes. I
Yes,
don't
ma'am.
think it's an opportunity to debate the merit of each of those laws, rather the enactment of them as a whole.
You want me to go through every single one of those laws
I'm
from last
asking
year?
you specifically not to do that.
Because this is about enacting all of those laws. So what I'm doing is I'm addressing a few of the reasons why we should not be reading these laws into and then codifying them into our legislation. Now, we could get all of them. The majority of them were anti-constitutional, but I thought I would just go, for the sake of brevity, I would just do a few laws, unless you want me to do all of them.
I'd like you to speak about it in a general sense. If you want to highlight a few, I'll give you some leeway.
Well, we're talking in the general sense because we're talking about the Second Amendment, and which is a right under the Constitution. The Constitution of our state of Colorado demands that we cannot violate the rights of citizens that are defined in the Constitution of the United States. We cannot be in violation. So what we've codified here, what the sponsors are asking us to codify, is violations of our Constitution. And we have an oath to not violate that Constitution. So when we have that oath to not violate the Constitution, and then not only are we violating that right, not only are we violating that oath and that responsibility on an individual basis each and every time we vote, that we vote in this case, as you guys do, as a block against the Second Amendment and our ability to exercise our right to keep and bear arms for the sake of, as delineated by the laws of nature and nature's God, that would allow us to protect our lives and our property and our liberty. So when we violate those, what I'm telling my colleagues, since I know yours aren't listening, what I'm telling my colleagues is we should not be codifying this into law when the oath that we've taken has been violated by the laws that would be codified by this bill. So yeah, let's leave them in that brown book. Let's leave them in an inferior status, unless you want to go through and litigate each one of them again. When a law replaces a right with a license, it flips the order. When you have to ask the state if you can exercise your right to self-defense, that is a license. That is servitude to the state. That is servitude to the state. Now, that is something that we would expect, but it is something in violation of the Constitution, and that Constitution is to what we have taken an oath. Citizens must prove themselves worthy before exercising what the Constitution guarantees. That violates, this bill that's before us today violates that right by asking us to codify what was done last semester in the what's called the Gold Dome High School, or the Gold Dome cesspool, I think is more accurate. But the Constitution displays sweeping prohibitions on common semi-automatic firearms, rapid-fire accessories, and the law-abiding citizens' First and Second Amendment. This is backwards. The proper test is not can we imagine a benefit, but does this comport with the fixed meaning of the constitutional guarantee, which is shall not be infringed? So just for the Second Amendment alone, you cannot adhere to your oath and vote for this bill, which is supporting the violation of the Second Amendment and the violation of the Constitution, which is anathema to your oath. If a policy only works by presuming guilt, it is not aligned, it is not compatible with the idea of liberty. So you're asking us, the sponsors are asking us, for the sake of making the trains run on time, which is not the function of this government. The function of this government is that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed. These restrictions, these laws, these constraints, these chains, these shackles that the majority party has shackled, has tied onto, has weighted down the citizens of Colorado, with which they've enslaved the citizens of Colorado,
Representative
should
Graff.
not be codified into the red books. Next, the sanctity of life. What are these rights that we hold self-evident? Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. Life. Life is the number one, because without life, the pursuit of happiness and liberty are meaningless. Yet the laws of this country, of this state, that we want to read into and vote on and put into the red book and say this is good, this lowercase law in violation of the law, the capital law, not only advocates for the murder of millions of preborn Coloradans, the mechanical dismemberment, the exsanguination, the suffering. Why use euphemisms? Why don't we just say whatever any means, any time, any method? Why don't we just say what that means? Exsanguination, mechanical dismemberment, suffocation. That's what that means. Of preborn citizens of Colorado. And not only that, but the laws have preferenced averting those births of preborn Coloradans to the tune of millions of dollars per year with absolutely no restrictions. And we want to codify that into law. I would say in terms of what's going on in Colorado, the beatings will continue until morality improves. However we disagree, everyone knows us that forcing Colorados to fund feticide compels the conscience.
Representative Graff, I've given a lot of leeway here. Again, this is a bill about the enactment of the statutes. Please keep your comments to that.
Ma'am, I'm speaking of why we should not be enacting these statutes. I'm not speaking of specific bills. I'm doing as you requested in speaking in generalities. So we talked about the Second Amendment, and now we're really talking about the preamble of the Declaration of Independence, which is the foundation of our Constitution, which guarantees which requires that this body, the purpose of our government, to secure these rights, these self-evident, creator-endowed, certain rights, certain as in absolute and guaranteed, not a selection of, that those rights are protected, preserved, and promoted by the laws of this General Assembly. And this funding of feticide not only violates the conscience of the citizens of Colorado, it violates the right to life of the preborn citizens of Colorado. So therefore, I'm explaining why I cannot vote for keeping the trains on time.
And I think you have sufficiently explained that point.
The people's money is not a cudgel from which whichever side momentarily holds power. And you can look at this when Bastiat, it's a great read, talks about that, and just continually fighting between sides about and that's how we end up with billions of dollars. I mean, we're $1 billion behind, we're another $1 billion behind, we have $3.5 or $4 billion worth of certificates of participation trophies that we have, that is more debt that is held by the state. And we vote those laws into place. And this bill codifies that into the red books and says, we think it's okay. When the state orders public programs to underwrite feticide, it crosses the line. I cannot vote for this bill. I would encourage everybody to not vote for this bill. From allowing the conduct of demanding complicity. So when you look at it, and Bonhoeffer talked about that, intentional neutrality is active complicity. What we have done, we have codified into law the violation of personhood into this state. This state has codified into law the violation of personhood itself. Now, I'd ask you to go, now what are the definitions of personhood? Personhood can be any number of things. It's generally referred to as a human body with a soul. Now, one side recognizes that there's a soul, the other side doesn't. So that leaves, for one side, it's the human body with a soul. For the other side, it is just a human body. Either case, person remains just human. And so what we're talking about is the mechanical dismemberment, the exsanguination, the bleeding out, the suffocation of preborn humans. The oath I took requires me to protect the free exercise of conscience. And I cannot in good conscience vote for a bill that codifies the extinguishing of the life of preborn Coloradans or postborn Coloradans, because the spectrum slides very quickly. Parental rights, speech, and the contested terrain of gender forces citizens into a battle of conscience. Parents bear the first duty to love and raise their children. The state is not the senior partner in the family. Now, I recognize that is our side. Your side is that the state is the senior partner in the family. The state is the provider, and the state is the protector, and the state is the decider, is the arbiter. From unjust discrimination without criminalization, disagreement, or compelling speech. The laws that we want to codify today compel speech, compel conscience, and they restrict it. That is servitude to an ideology. These are the shackles that you've put on Coloradans, on their minds, on their bodies, on their liberties. Fiscal restraint and the consent of the governed. Last year, we ended up with billions of dollars of overage and absolutely no way out. And this year, instead of dealing with these overages, we're just going to double down and bring out more. And the way to solve a budget crisis is decrease spending, not more. The only thing that this body is going to do to solve it is more taxes, more debt, and more spending. And somehow, digging the hole deeper is supposed to get us out of the hole into which you've dug ourselves. You've dug ourselves. 1035 bundles this all together: firearm restrictions, taxpayer-funded feticide, speech policing tendencies, and fee-driven growth into a single enactment vote. Boom. We're going to put that all into play with this vote. Bring them one by one. Let's relitigate them. Let's talk about them again. Is this really what we want to shackle, that we want to tie? Is this red book the albatross that we want to tie around the neck of Colorado? You might say this is routine and we do it every year. Routine is no excuse for ratifying what violates the spirit of our charter, the violation of our oath. Routine is a rut. It's a grave with the ends dug out. We are in that grave. We are in that rut. The rut is continued spending. When parents must watch their words to avoid the process of penalty, when citizens must obtain licenses to keep what is already there, when the treasury grows by mechanisms the people never approved, the checks are failing, and the balance is non-existent. All bypassed by the cleverness of clever-worded politicians. Not statesmen, but clever wording by politicians. To support these pieces of code into our law, I say respectively, bring them again. Let's talk about them. I can't vote for them in whole. I'll vote against this bill. I encourage everybody to do the same. Make your case on the merits. If you can persuade the people's representatives under the lights of debate, in the cauldron of scrutiny, so be it. Don't ask us to bless the whole bundle at once. What happened last year, just like the year before, was a travesty of justice, was a travesty of the law, and codifying in the law is a millstone with which this state is sinking. We are not just decorating the shelves with red books. We are setting nails in the frame of our state. The frame must be true. It must be aligned. It must be aligned with the moral law, like these columns are aligned with the natural law. We need consent before revenue, speech before compulsion, the Constitution before convenience. Until our code reflects that order again, I cannot vote to reenact it as positive law. For these ethical and constitutional reasons, I recommend and request a no vote on HB 1035.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Brooks.
Chair, thank you. Lest we get to the point where we think that it's just one particular member of this caucus that does have some very impressive skills when it comes to being loquacious. I don't want anybody to think that it is just that representative that is opposed to this. I simply wanted to come up and, for a time, considerably of less length, because I do not share at that same level. I aspire, but I do not share at that same level that loquaciousness. I still find it very important to be on record to say this makes sense to oppose this. Our caucus, it makes sense to oppose this. There are so many bills. Goodness gracious, so many bills. And the vast majority we don't agree with, especially when it comes to, just off the top of my head, anything public safety, discarding embryos that have already been fertilized. It's just an absolute disregard for human life, an absolute disregard for the taxpayers' money, an absolute disregard for the direction in which this state is heading. To simply rubber stamp an act and say, yeah, I'm good with that, I can't do that either. It's not one voice, it's not one person, it's not just bloviating. It cuts to the core of what we feel like we're supposed to be here to do. And it cuts to the core of the fact that many of us feel we have crossed that line and that we are not acting in the best interest of Colorado. We are not acting in the best interest of the constituents that sent us here. We are acting rather in a mathematical support of policy only that so many of us just cannot abide. So I too rise in opposition, and I understand not going to be many of us that will rise in opposition to this. However, I don't know, if it causes just some little sense of self-reflection of what we're doing here, I believe it's worth it. I would ask for a no.
Representative Kelty.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I want to stand here and actually, in support of this bill, this came through judiciary, and the full scope of what it meant and what it was going to do came out in the testimony that was given. And from what I understand, and the bill sponsor can correct me if I'm incorrect, what this bill does is the laws that were basically passed last year, whether we like them or not, we had some ones that we liked. What it does is it puts it out there so that there's complete transparency. It allows us to be able to publish the bills out publish the bills to the public so they can go out and actually look at the bills that were passed, whether they were good or bad, that you can see the good things that we've done or the damage that has been done. But it's just making it so that it's out there for the public to see in full transparency. Am I correct? So the bill sponsor says, yes, that is correct. So I'm in support of this bill because it supports full transparency for the public, for the people of Colorado to go look at these bills and see what we've done. Because I tell you this right now, we've done a lot, and some things were not so great. And I want the people of Colorado to see exactly what's happening in their state. So I will be a yes on this today. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1035? Representative DeGraff, welcome back.
Thank you. It is just my understanding, and I'm not going to compel anybody to vote however, but these laws from last year, especially the unconstitutional one, the wildly unconstitutional bills that were passed last year, would be in the Brown Book. Now, it would be inefficient in that regard, but they would still be published. They would just not be codified. So I'm good with that. I'm good with that level of inefficiency in order to say, I don't support the unconstitutional oath breaking that occurred in this room.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1035? Seeing none, the question before us is its passage. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1035 passes. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
Let's try that again. You have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, the committee will rise and report.
The House will come back to order. Mr. Shebel, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Madam Speaker, your Committee of the Whole begs leave to report as under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof and making the following recommendations thereon. House Bills 1003 as amended, 1020 as amended, 1035, and 1040 as amended, passed on second reading, ordered, engrossed, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Representative Zokai. Members, you have heard the motion. We do have amendments at the desk. Mr. Shebel, please read the Luck Amendment to the Committee of the Whole report, House Bill 1003.
Representative Luck moved to amend the report of the Committee of the Whole to oversee action taken by the committee in not adopting the following Luck Amendment, L4 to House Bill 1003, to show that said amendment passed, that House Bill 1003 is amended passed.
Representative Luck.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the Luck Amendment to the Committee of the Whole and ask that it be displayed.
One moment. There we go. It is properly displayed. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. For those of you who were in the chamber at the time that this was being debated, you know that this is a bill related to a loan program that was created circa 2020, COVID-era loan program to small businesses to help them get through the small business challenges that they were facing because of COVID and the response that the government took to it. This particular program, instead of this bill just sunsetting this particular loan program, it seeks to actually expand it. And right now there are about $34 million within the coffers of this particular program. This amendment says that there will not be a continuance of this program moving forward, that we would adopt what the bill sponsors have put forth for right now, but at the end of this year, no more loans would go out. Any remaining dollars would go to the general fund, and all of the loans as they get repaid would also go to the general fund, and then the program would be repealed. I believe that this is the right move in a year when we have fiscal constraints. I believe that we will continue to have those fiscal constraints moving forward, and so this is the right time to sunset this program, move those $34 million over, and use them for other obligations that the state has. I ask for an aye vote.
Representative Camacho.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We ask for a no vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of the Luck Amendment to the Committee of the Whole report. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Bottoms, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Bottoms votes yes. Representative Story is excused. Representative English is excused. Please close the machine. With 23 aye, 40 no, and 2 excused, the amendment is lost. Mr. Shebel, please read the Richardson Amendment to the Committee of the Whole report, House Bill 1003.
Representative Richardson moved to amend the part of the Committee of the Whole to oversee action taken by the committee in not adopting the following Richardson Amendment, L2 to House Bill 1003, to show that said amendment passed, that House Bill 1003 is amended passed.
Representative Richardson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm bringing this amendment back for a couple of reasons I just really wanted to articulate.
Representative Richardson, I'll ask you to move it first.
Yes,
Thank you.
I move the Richardson Amendment to the Committee of the Whole report.
And it is properly displayed. Please proceed.
Thank you, ma'am. Since we just voted as a body essentially to continue the program, I think it's very important that we do actually take action to direct money where we feel it would do the best. The sponsor stated when this amendment was brought earlier that we've been unsuccessful in directing funds in the past, and we can't be successful if we don't accept the amendments that do so. So this amendment would bring some equity to the distribution of funding to rural businesses, to those that are owned by veterans and those that are owned by minority business people. We spent most of Friday celebrating our military and our veterans. I think this puts some money where our mouths were with those resolutions. We regularly talk about the impacts on minority-owned businesses in this body, and this would direct money to those businesses. I recognize the amendment can be looked at as picking winners and losers, and we should generally avoid that, but these are specifically and significantly impacted businesses. And I also recognize that this would hardwire a percentage of dollars that might have to be addressed in the future by coming back and changing a number. But with 700 bills or so a year, we've got plenty of opportunity in the future to adjust numbers as necessary. I am a veteran. I do represent rural Colorado, large swaths of it, and this is very important. I just want to leave you with this as we're thinking about it. If we're directing people to track and report where the money goes once we let it loose, why aren't we willing to say right up front where we'd like it to go? Why not actively take steps to ensure that there's equity in the distribution to start with? We have law in place that says that a certain amount of money should be proportionately going to our veteran-owned and minority businesses for state contracts. We get reports on that. The reports are dismal because we haven't directed that the money actually go where we expect it to go. So I'd ask you to vote yes on this, and let's start up front by directing money where we wish it to go rather than just hearing later that it didn't necessarily wind up where we had hoped. So I urge a yes vote.
Representative Camacho.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank my colleague's comments about reaching populations of the state that are underserved. However, that sword cuts both ways, and we've learned through experience that that presents legal issues that would undermine the purpose of this bill. So for that reason, we ask for no vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the adoption of the Richardson Amendment to the Committee of the Whole report. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Bottoms, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Bottoms votes yes. Please close the machine. With 24 aye, 40 no, and 1 excuse, the amendment is lost. The motion before us is the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Bottoms, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Bottoms votes no. Leader and Woodrow. Please close the machine. With 43 aye, 21 no, and 1 excused, the report is adopted. Members, announcements and introductions. Representative Brown.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Get excited. It's the first Appropriations Committee meeting of the year. Appropriations Committee will be meeting at 7:30 in the Old State Library tomorrow. We will hear all of the bills that are listed in your packet, which is House Bill 261150 through House Bill 1179. Be there or be square.
Thank you, Rep. Brown. Representative Bradfield.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I do want to invite everyone here to the Legislator Bible Study tomorrow morning, 7:15 in room 109. You're welcome.
Thank you. Representative Wilford.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The State Civic, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee will meet at 1:30 p.m. in LSBA to hear House Bills 1073 and House Bill 1074.
Thank you. Representative McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today at 1:30, House Agriculture, Water, and Natural Resources will meet in room 107 to hear House Bill 1067, 1025, 1031, and anyone interested in water, which should be all of us, there will be a WECO, which is Water Education Colorado, workshop this Wednesday, starting at 7:45 across the street in LSBA. There will be coffee and breakfast available, and the subject matter that we will be getting an overview on are water law and data centers and water use. So really interesting stuff. Please join us.
Representative Woodrow.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, House Finance Committee will be meeting at 1:30 in room 112 to hear 4 bills, 1026, 1062, 1053, and 1036. See you all there.
Representative Hamrick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Please join Rep. Clifford, Rep. Bryden, and myself in welcoming members of the Centennial City Council. They're not in the room anymore. They're wandering about. But we had here Mayor Christine Sweetland, Council Member Cindy Sandhu, Council Member Ashish Vejia, Council Member Ryan Dwiggins, and Council Member Darrell Middleton. Centennial was recently ranked #1 best place to live in Colorado by U.S. News & World Report in 25-26, and also the #2 best cities to move to by Consumer Affairs. So thank you, Centennial, and have a great day.
Thank you. Representative Carter.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today's hidden figure presented by the Black Caucus is Miss Stacey Abrams. Stacey Abrams is a powerful advocate for voting rights and racial justice whose work has had a lasting impact on black communities across America. As a former Georgia legislator, she rose to national prominence after her 2018 gubernatorial campaign, where she refused to accept voter suppression and worked to expose barriers that disproportionately affected blacks and marginalized voters. In response, she founded Fair Fight, an organization dedicated to protecting voting access and challenging discriminatory election practices. Through her leadership, millions of voters, especially black voters, have been registered, educated, and empowered to participate in the democratic process. Her efforts were widely credited with helping increase black voter turnout in Georgia and influencing major elections, including the 2020 presidential and senatorial races. Beyond elections, Abrams has consistently championed policies that expand economic opportunity, healthcare access, and educational equity. Through her courage, strategy, and commitment to justice, Stacey Abrams has strengthened black political power and helped ensure that more voices are heard in America's democracy. Please join me in celebrating the hidden figure, Stacey Abrams.
Representative Ricks.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, House Business Affairs and Labor will not be meeting this week due to supplementals. We will rejoin each other next week, Wednesday. Thank you.
Representative Flanell? Okay. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to lay over the balance of the calendar till Tuesday, February 10th, 2026.
Seeing no objection, balance of the calendar will be laid over until tomorrow. We do have business members to take care of. You do not need to remain in the chamber during this time. Mr. Schiebel, printing report.
The Chief Clerk reports the following
Printing
bills
report will be printed in the journal. Introduction of bills.
House Bill 1180 by Representatives Marshall and Gonzalez, also Senator Hendrickson, concerning the continuation of the Business Intelligence Center Advisory Board and in connection therewith implementing the recommendation of the Department of Regulatory Agencies 2025 Sunset Report by repealing the Advisory Board.
House Bill 1180 will be assigned to the Committee on Business Affairs and Labor.
House Bill 1181 by Representatives Ricks and Richardson, also Senator Michael St-Genet, concerning the continuation of the Barber and Cosmetology Act and in connection therewith implementing the recommendations of the Department of Regulatory Agencies and the Department's 2025 Sunset Report.
House Bill 1181 will be assigned to the Committee on Business Affairs and Labor.
House Bill 1182 by Representatives Lindsay and Sukla, also Senators Kipp and Rich, concerning the continuation of the Veterinary Pharmaceutical Advisory Committee and in connection therewith implement the recommendation contained 2025 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies to repeal the Veterinary Pharmaceutical Advisory Committee.
House Bill 1182 will be assigned to the Committee on Agriculture, Water, and Natural Resources.
House Bill 1183 by Representatives McCormick and Duran, also Senators Cutter and Pelton B, concerning the continuation of the licensing of pet animal facilities by the Commissioner of Agriculture in accordance with the Pet Animal Care and Facilities Act and in connection therewith, implement recommendations contained in the 2025 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies.
House Bill 1183 will be assigned to the Committee on Agriculture, Water, and Natural Resources.
House Bill 1184 by Representatives Luke and Zamaro, also Senator Cutter, concerning the continuation of the Colorado Forest Health Council and in connection therewith, implementing the recommendation of the Department of Regulatory Agencies in the Department's 2025 Sunset Report.
House Bill 1184 will be assigned to the Committee on Agriculture, Water, and Natural Resources.
House Bill 1185 by Representatives Carter and Clifford, also Senator Roberts, concerning the continuation of the Cold Case Task Force and in connection therewith, implementing the recommendations of the Department of Regulatory Agencies in the Department's 2025 Sunset Report, including authorizing the Executive Director of the Department of Public Safety to appoint additional members to the task force, continuing the task force for 13 years, and changing the type of sunset review that is conducted by the Department.
House Bill 1185 will be assigned to the Committee on Judiciary.
House Bill 1186 by Representatives Mabry and Soper, also Senators Ball and Weissman, concerning the continuation of the regulation of bail bonding agents regulated by Article 23 of Title 10 Colorado Revised Statutes by the Division of Insurance and in connection therewith, implementing the 2025 Sunset Report by the Department of Regulatory Agencies.
House Bill 1186 will be assigned to the Committee on Judiciary.
House Bill 1187 by Representatives Stewart R. and Wynn, also Senators Exum and Snyder, concerning the continuation of the fire suppression programs of the Division of Fire Prevention and Control and in connection therewith, implementing recommendations of the Department of Regulatory Agencies in the Department's 2025 Sunset Report.
House Bill 1187 will be assigned to the Committee on Transportation, Housing, and Local Government.
House Bill 1188 by Representatives Camacho and Titone, also Senator Kolker, concerning the continuation of the regulation of securities and in connection therewith, implementing the recommendations of the Department of Regulatory Agencies in the Department's 2025 Sunset Report.
House Bill 1188 will be assigned to the Committee on Finance.
House Bill 1189 by Representative Espinoza, also Senator Snyder, concerning property held by a community property spouse subject to the Uniform Community Property Disposition of Death Act.
House Bill 1189 will be assigned to the Committee on Judiciary.
House Bill 1190 by Representatives Soper and Martinez, also Senator Lindstedt, concerning the authority of alcohol beverage manufacturers to provide an alcohol beverage to customers.
House Bill 1190 will be assigned to the Committee on Business Affairs and Labor.
Senate Bill 32 by Senators Doherty and Mullica, also Representatives Foray and Brown, concerning the promotion of immunization access.
Senate Bill 32 will be assigned to the Committee on Health and Human Services. Madam Majority Leader.
Don't start. Madam Speaker, I move that the House adjourn until 9 a.m., February 10th, 2026.
The House is adjourned until tomorrow, February 10th at 9 a.m.